Think about everything humanity has ever created, every poem, every symphony, every scientific breakthrough, every story that has shaped who we are. Now imagine all of that, our entire cultural heartbeat, silently orbiting Earth in the profound darkness of space, far beyond the reach of any disaster, any war, any decay that could ever threaten our world. This is not a scene from a film or a distant dream, it's happening right now. Welcome to the era of the archive in the vacuum, one of the most ambitious and visionary projects ever conceived. An off-world library designed to preserve the essence of human civilization for millennia to come. For centuries, we've stored our knowledge in libraries, museums, and digital servers, but these repositories are fragile. They can burn, flood, be forgotten, or become obsolete. What if we could create a backup of humanity itself, a place where our greatest works are safe from everything, from solar flares to societal collapse? That's exactly what the archive in the vacuum aims to do. It's more than a time capsule. It's a promise to the future, a message to generations we will never meet, and perhaps even to other forms of life, saying, "This is who we were. This is what we achieved." In this video, we're going to take you on a journey far above the clouds, beyond the satellites, into the deep and silent realms of space where this archive resides. We'll explore the astonishing technology that makes it possible, from diamond-etched data that can last billions of years to self-healing systems that operate without human intervention. We'll delve into the urgent reasons why this mission matters now more than ever, and we'll uncover how scientists, artists, and thinkers from around the world are collaborating to decide what deserves a place among the stars. This is the story of how we're ensuring that humanity's light never goes out, no matter what happens here on Earth. So settle in, you're about to discover how we're turning science fiction into science fact, one orbit at a time. Consider the fragility of our shared history. Great libraries like the one in Alexandria have been lost to fire, and countless museums have seen their collections destroyed by floods, earthquakes, or the ravages of war. In the modern era, we might assume that digitizing our culture makes it safe, but that is a dangerous illusion. Hard drives fail, file formats become unreadable as technology evolves, and entire digital archives can be wiped out by a single well-placed cyberattack or a simple power surge. Our most precious knowledge exists on a foundation that is far more vulnerable than we often care to admit. This isn't just about losing ancient texts. It's about the very real possibility of a digital dark age, where vast swaths of our contemporary culture, our photos, our music, our literature could simply vanish into an obsolete format, becoming inaccessible to future generations. The threats are both ancient and terrifyingly new, from the slow, rising tides of climate change threatening coastal repositories to the instant, devastating impact of regional conflicts that can erase centuries of heritage in a matter of days. The archive in the vacuum emerges as a direct response to this sobering reality. By placing our cultural backup far above the Earth's atmosphere, we create a sanctuary that is immune to every single one of these terrestrial dangers. It exists in a permanent, silent, and stable environment where the only thing that changes is the slow, graceful orbit around our planet. This project transcends the simple act of data storage. It is an act of profound hope and responsibility. It is a message in a bottle cast into the cosmic ocean, intended for our descendants who might need to rebuild, or for other intelligent life that might one day wonder who else lived among the stars. It ensures that the story of humanity, our art, our science, our triumphs and our failures, will not be defined by a single point of failure here on Earth. The urgency of this mission cannot be overstated. With every passing day, more historical sites are endangered, and more digital data is created on unstable platforms. The clock is indeed ticking, and the need to create this celestial failsafe has never been more critical. We are in a race against time and entropy itself, working to secure a legacy that will speak for us long after we are gone. This profound ambition to preserve our story for the future is woven deeply into the human spirit, a thread connecting ancient storytellers around a fire to modern scientists plotting trajectories to the stars. The conceptual blueprint for the archive in the vacuum didn't appear out of nowhere. It is the culmination of centuries of human yearning to defy time and share our essence. We can trace its lineage back to the great libraries of the ancient world, which were themselves a form of terrestrial time capsule, and even further to the oral traditions where knowledge was painstakingly memorized and passed down through generations to ensure its survival. The very act of building monuments like the pyramids was a declaration against oblivion, a physical statement meant to endure long after its creators were gone. Science fiction has long been a powerful engine for this vision, providing a narrative playground where such grand ideas could first take root in our collective imagination. For decades, authors and filmmakers have explored the concept of cosmic libraries and messages sent to the stars. These stories did more than just entertain. They prepared us psychologically and philosophically for the moment when the technology would finally catch up to the dream. They allowed us to work through the profound questions of what we would save and what it would say about us, making the eventual reality of the archive feel less like a sudden leap and more like a natural evolution of a long-held desire. A pivotal moment in this conceptual journey was the Voyager mission, championed by the visionary astronomer Carl Sagan. The golden records attached to those probes were a breathtaking act of optimism, a curated sampling of Earth's sounds and images hurled into the interstellar void with no guarantee of ever being found. They were a bottle cast into the cosmic ocean, and they proved that we, as a species, possess the will to attempt communication with an unknown future and an unknown audience. The archive in the vacuum is a direct descendant of that pioneering spirit, but it represents a quantum leap in scale and ambition. Instead of a simple greeting card, we are now building a permanent, expanding library. This modern endeavor sits at a unique crossroads of discipline and philosophy. It is, first and foremost, a monumental feat of cutting-edge engineering, relying on the latest advancements in materials science, data storage, and orbital mechanics. Yet its heart is deeply humanistic, driven by a profound respect for cultural preservation and a philosophical inquiry into what defines our civilization. It asks us to consider what is truly essential about the human experience and challenges us to present that story without bias. The project represents a beautiful convergence, the artist's sensitivity meeting the scientist's precision, all guided by the philosopher's search for meaning. The goal is no less than to create a repository that is timeless in both its physical durability and its cultural resonance, a vault that transcends all earthly limitations and speaks for us across eons. So where exactly do you place a library that's meant to last for eons? The answer lies not just in space, but in a very specific and carefully chosen region of it. Not all orbits serve the same purpose, and for a mission of this importance, the choice of real estate is everything. While low Earth orbit might be convenient for things like communication satellites and the International Space Station, it's a terribly crowded and hazardous neighborhood for something meant to last forever. That region is filled with a swirling cloud of space debris, defunct satellites, discarded rocket parts, and thousands of fragments from past collisions, all traveling at speeds faster than a bullet. Even a paint chip striking at that velocity could be catastrophic. Furthermore, low Earth orbit is still influenced by the faint traces of Earth's atmosphere, causing a slow but constant drag that gradually pulls objects down, requiring regular boosts to maintain position. It's a dynamic, messy, and ultimately temporary environment. To find true peace and permanence, we must journey much farther out to what is known as deep orbit. This is the remote, silent frontier far beyond the busy traffic of closer orbits, a place of profound stillness and stability. Here, the archive achieves a level of protection simply impossible anywhere else. One of the most significant advantages is the complete escape from Earth's Van Allen radiation belts. These are two massive donut-shaped zones filled with highly charged particles trapped by our planet's magnetic field. Satellites passing through these belts are subjected to a constant barrage of radiation that can slowly degrade and damage sensitive electronic components over time. By positioning the archive safely beyond this radioactive gauntlet, we drastically extend the functional lifespan of its storage systems. The deep orbital environment itself provides near-perfect preservation conditions. It is, for all practical purposes, an immense and endless vacuum, far more complete than any we could ever create on Earth. This absence of air means there is no oxygen to cause oxidation or corrosion on materials, no moisture to facilitate decay, and no wind or weather to cause any kind of erosion. Combined with the extreme cold of deep space, just a few degrees above absolute zero, chemical and physical processes that break things down simply grind to a near halt. It is the ultimate cold storage, a natural deep freeze that perfectly preserves its contents. Gravitational stability is another critical factor. Orbits closer to Earth are subject to subtle tugs and perturbations from the planet's uneven gravitational field, the gravitational influence of the Moon, and even the slight but constant pressure of solar radiation. These tiny forces can, over decades or centuries, cause a satellite's orbit to wobble or decay. Deep orbits, particularly special points known as Lagrange points, offer gravitational sweet spots. These are places where the gravitational pulls of the Earth and the Sun balance each other out perfectly, allowing an object to maintain a remarkably stable position with minimal effort. By anchoring the archive in such a gravitationally calm harbor, we ensure it remains precisely where we left it, requiring little to no fuel for station keeping and avoiding any risk of drifting into danger. This meticulous selection process transforms the archive from a mere satellite into a remote sanctuary, a celestial Fort Knox for human culture. It is a calculated and deliberate decision to leverage the natural advantages of the space environment itself. We are not fighting against the harshness of space. We are using its most extreme qualities, its cold, its vacuum, its emptiness, as the very tools of preservation. By placing our legacy in this most remote of vaults, we give it the best possible chance to remain intact, readable, and waiting, completely untouched by the passage of millennia or the turmoil that might unfold on the world far below it. But storing our most precious data in the void of space presents a monumental challenge, one that would instantly destroy the hard drives and memory chips we use here on Earth. The culprit is an invisible, relentless rain of high-energy particles known as cosmic radiation. Streaming from the Sun and distant supernova, this radiation can physically alter the microscopic structures inside electronic storage, flipping bits from ones to zeros and slowly corrupting the very information we're trying to save. It's a silent, digital erosion that happens atom by atom. To overcome this, the archive relies on its first line of defense, incredibly sophisticated radiation-hardened storage devices. Think of them as the armored vaults of the digital world, These aren't just standard chips in a tougher case, they are fundamentally redesigned from the atomic level up. They incorporate specialized shielding materials like tantalum, a dense, highly resistant metal that acts as a microscopic suit of armor, and silicon carbide, a compound renowned for its ability to withstand extreme environments and radiation bombardment without failing. These materials form a protective barrier, absorbing and deflecting the energetic particles that would otherwise slice through conventional components. Yet, even the best armor can have a chink. That's why the second layer of defense is arguably even more clever: intelligent software. These hardened drives employ advanced error correction algorithms that are the digital equivalent of a master restorer working on a damaged painting. They don't just store the raw data, they store it with a massive amount of redundant, extra information. This allows the system to constantly check itself. If a few bits get flipped by a radiation strike, the algorithms can detect the error and, using the redundant data, calculate what the original values must have been and automatically correct them. It's a self-healing process for information, ensuring that over decades and centuries, the files remain bit for bit perfect. This combination of physical hardening and computational intelligence is what makes long-term digital preservation in space possible. It allows us to confidently store everything from the simple text of a profound poem to the immensely complex data of a high-resolution scan of the Sistine Chapel ceiling, secure in the knowledge that it will arrive in the future exactly as we intended, untouched by the ravages of its journey through the stars. While radiation-hardened drives are a triumph of digital engineering, they still represent a form of technology that future civilizations might not understand. For the absolute longest-term preservation, measured not in centuries but in billions of years, we need to move beyond electronics altogether. This is where we encounter one of the most breathtakingly durable concepts in the entire archive: the practice of etching information directly onto diamonds at the nanoscale. This approach abandons the fleeting nature of software and hardware for the eternal permanence of physical form. It is the difference between writing a message in sand and carving it into a mountain. The choice of diamond is not for luxury but for its nearly perfect physical properties. As the hardest known natural material, it is incredibly resistant to scratching, abrasion, and wear. Chemically, it is almost completely inert. It doesn't rust, corrode, or react with other elements, even in the presence of radiation. A diamond substrate is essentially a forever canvas, immune to the environmental factors that would degrade metal, paper, or even silicon over astronomical timescales. We are not talking about gemstones you would find in a ring, but about synthetic, industrial-grade diamonds engineered to be flawless and pure, providing the most stable foundation imaginable for our most important stories. The process of inscribing the data is a marvel of precision in itself. Scientists use incredibly powerful instruments called focused ion beams. Think of these as the most precise etching tools in the universe. They can be focused down to a spot just a few atoms wide, allowing technicians to literally carve pits and patterns into the diamond's surface with atomic-level accuracy. Each of these minuscule indentations represents a bit of data, a 1 or a 0 in a binary code. An entire book can be reduced to a complex, microscopic landscape of peaks and valleys, a permanent topographical map of its text. To read it back, one wouldn't need a specific brand of computer or a certain operating system. They would simply need a powerful enough microscope and an understanding of the basic binary code, a concept fundamental to mathematics and logic that is likely to be rediscovered by any intelligent species. The data density achieved with this method is almost incomprehensible. A single palm-sized diamond wafer, just a few millimeters thick, could contain the entire contents of the Library of Congress many times over. This includes not just text but high-resolution images, complex schematics, and even digital representations of music and film, all translated into a physical, permanent format. It is the ultimate compression of human knowledge into an indestructible, timeless capsule. This marriage of the oldest form of record-keeping physical inscription with the most advanced nanotechnology represents a full-circle moment for human innovation. We are using the pinnacle of our current technology to create a record that is intentionally low-tech in its retrieval, ensuring that our message endures long after the specific technology used to create it has turned to dust. Now, if a hardened drive or a diamond wafer represents the perfect static vault, the next question becomes who or what guards that vault over the centuries. In an environment where a human repair mission is physically and temporally impossible, the archive cannot be a passive library on a shelf. It must be an active, intelligent guardian of its own contents. This demands a third dynamic technological marvel, a network of self-healing redundant systems that give the archive a form of immortality, an operational resilience that matches the physical durability of its storage media. We are moving from creating a timeless book to creating a timeless librarian, one that never sleeps, never tires, and is programmed with a single, unwavering directive: protect the knowledge. The core principle here is redundancy, but this goes far beyond simply making a few extra copies. This is about building a deeply interlaced, multi-layered safety net where failure in one component is not just expected, it is seamlessly and instantly compensated for by 3 others. Imagine the archive not as one single satellite, but as a distributed swarm of interconnected modules. If one module, perhaps housing the digital texts of 20th century literature, were to suffer a catastrophic failure from an unlucky micrometeoroid impact, its function doesn't just vanish. The system is designed so that every piece of data exists in multiple, geographically separate locations within the archive cluster. The moment the primary module goes offline, a silent, instantaneous handoff occurs. A backup module, perhaps orbiting dozens of kilometers away, automatically assumes the role of the primary source for that data set. To any user attempting to access a Hemingway novel, the transition would be completely invisible. The request is simply rerouted, and the information flows without a single bit lost or a moment of delay. It's the digital equivalent of a city's power grid switching to backup generators the instant the main line goes down, ensuring the lights never flicker. But the true genius lies in moving beyond mere reaction to intelligent prediction. This is where sophisticated artificial intelligence comes into play, acting as the archive's central nervous system. This AI is not a passive monitor, it is a proactive diagnostician, continuously running thousands of simulations and health checks on every component. It analyzes power consumption patterns, temperature fluctuations, and radiation exposure logs, building a vast predictive model of the entire system's aging process. It can identify that a specific memory bank in a radiation-hardened drive is showing error rates that, while still correctable now, indicate it will likely fail in the next 18 months. Instead of waiting for that failure to happen, the AI can then initiate a preemptive action. It might command the system to slowly and gracefully migrate all data from that soon-to-fail bank to a healthier one within the same module, or even to a completely different module in the cluster, all during periods of low access demand. It performs preventative maintenance on a scale we can barely comprehend, fixing problems before they even have a chance to manifest. And for those rare physical failures that require a hands-on approach, the archive has a final, remarkable trick: robotic repair units. These are not humanoid robots, but rather sophisticated, specialized tools on maneuvering arms, or perhaps even small, autonomous drone satellites that live alongside the main archive. If a solar panel is damaged or a communication antenna is misaligned, the AI can dispatch one of these units to perform precise repairs. They might use robotic welders to patch a micrometeoroid hole, or delicate manipulators to clear obstructive dust from a critical sensor. This capability transforms the archive from a static, brittle object into a living, maintainable facility. It is a system that possesses not just the knowledge of its own contents, but also the means to ensure its own longevity. This profound level of autonomy is what truly separates this project from any other preservation effort in history. We are not just burying a time capsule and hoping for the best. We are creating an eternal sentinel, a guardian that will keep its vigil long after its creators are gone, ensuring that the story of humanity remains not only preserved but perpetually accessible. Now, holding our data safe from radiation and building self-repairing systems solves two monumental problems, but it introduces a third, equally tricky challenge. How do you keep these celestial libraries exactly where they need to be for thousands of years without them ever drifting out of position? In the unforgiving physics of space, even a tiny, almost imperceptible nudge can become a major problem over centuries. The gravitational pull of the moon, the slight but constant pressure of solar wind, even the minuscule drag from the wisps of atomic particles that exist way out there, all of these forces act like a constant, gentle hand trying to push the archive off its course. For a normal satellite, the solution is simple but temporary: carry fuel. They use small thrusters to periodically fire and correct their orbit. But fuel is heavy, expensive to launch, and most critically, it eventually runs out. A satellite that runs out of fuel becomes a drifting ghost, useless and eventually a danger to itself and others. For a project designed to last effectively forever, a finite resource like chemical propellant is a complete non-starter. We needed a method of propulsion that was as infinite and eternal as the archive's mission itself. The answer is as beautiful as it is brilliant, and it comes directly from the sun. It's the fourth technological marvel enabling this project, solar sails. This is not science fiction, it is a working reality, and it provides a truly elegant form of propulsion, less stability. Imagine, if you will, a satellite that doesn't push itself through space, but rather is pushed by the universe itself. A solar sail is a gigantic, incredibly thin sheet of highly reflective material, often a specialized polymer coated with aluminum, stretched over a lightweight frame. Deployed, it can be the size of a basketball court or even larger, yet it weighs almost nothing. It functions on a simple, profound principle. Although sunlight has no mass, it is made up of photons which carry momentum. When these tiny particles of light strike the reflective surface of the sail, they bounce off, transferring a minuscule amount of that momentum to the sail itself. It's the difference between throwing a tennis ball at a wall and having it stick versus having it bounce right back at you. You feel the push. Each individual photon's push is vanishingly small, but collectively, over the vast area of the sail, the constant stream of sunlight from the sun creates a gentle, continuous, and utterly free thrust. For the archive satellites, this gentle pressure is not for traveling vast distances quickly, but for making the most delicate and precise adjustments to their trajectory. By minutely changing the angle of the sail relative to the sun, much like a sailor trimming the sails of a boat to catch the wind from a slightly different direction, the satellite's onboard computer can use this photon thrust to make tiny course corrections. It can counteract those subtle gravitational tugs and particle drag forces that would otherwise, over millennia, cause it to drift from its perfect orbital position. It's a perpetual, silent dance with the sun, a constant balancing act that requires no fuel, only sunlight, which is guaranteed to shine for billions of years to come. This makes the system perfectly sustainable and aligns perfectly with the archive's philosophical goal of eternal preservation. The benefits of this elegant solution ripple out in several crucial ways. First, by eliminating the need for fuel tanks and complex thruster systems, the satellite's design becomes simpler, lighter, and more reliable. Fewer moving parts mean fewer things that can break over the eons. Second, and just as importantly, it drastically minimizes the risk of accidental collisions. Thruster plumes from conventional satellites can interfere with other objects in nearby orbits, and a malfunctioning thruster could fire at the wrong time, sending the satellite careening into a dangerous path. A solar sail has no such violent exhaust. Its method of movement is a gentle, predictable pressure. This allows the archive to maintain its precise position in the celestial vault without ever posing a threat to its neighbors, ensuring its own safety and the safety of the space around it. It is the ultimate expression of working in harmony with the natural forces of the cosmos, using the light of our star to protect the memory of our world. So we have an archive that can heal itself and maintain its position forever, but that introduces perhaps the most human of all problems. How do we keep our greatest secrets safe within it? Imagine a repository containing everything from the formula for a cure to a terrible disease to the personal diaries of history's most influential figures. This isn't just a library, it's a vault of unimaginable power and sensitivity. The need to protect it from malicious access is not just a technical challenge, it's an ethical imperative. We cannot allow this treasure trove to be plundered, corrupted, or weaponized by any single group or individual, whether in our time or 1,000 years from now. This demands a security system that is not just advanced, but fundamentally unbreakable by any means we can conceive of, both now and in the far future. That level of absolute security is the domain of the fifth technological marvel, quantum encryption. To understand why quantum encryption is so revolutionary, we first have to grasp the fatal flaw in today's digital security. Right now, we protect our most sensitive data with complex mathematical algorithms. These algorithms are like incredibly intricate locks, and the keys to open them are immensely long strings of numbers. The safety of this system relies on a simple assumption that it would take even the most powerful computer we have an impractical amount of time, longer than the age of the universe, to guess the key through brute force. But this is a race against processing power. What seems unbreakable today could be cracked in seconds by a quantum computer or some other unimaginable processing technology invented a century from now. Our current encryption is a lock that we simply hope no one will ever find a key for. It's a temporary solution for an eternal problem. Quantum encryption, however, operates on an entirely different principle. It doesn't rely on mathematical complexity. It leverages the fundamental, unchangeable laws of physics that govern our universe. The most common method is called quantum key distribution. Here's how it would work for the archive. When an authorized user, let's say a research institution in the year 2400, wants to access a specific dataset, they first send a request. The archive system doesn't send back a password. Instead, it generates a secret key and sends it to the user encoded in a series of individual photons, the fundamental particles of light. This is where the magic of quantum mechanics comes into play. One of the core principles of quantum physics is that the mere act of observing a quantum system irrevocably changes it. This means that if anyone, anywhere, tries to intercept that stream of photons to eavesdrop on the key, their attempt to measure the particles will unavoidably alter their state. The authorized user on the other end will immediately detect this disturbance because the key they receive won't match the one that was sent. It's the ultimate burglar alarm. The very act of trying to listen in screams your presence. The communication is instantly terminated, the key is discarded, and a new one is generated for the next attempt. There is no copy of the key left behind. The interception itself destroys the original message. This ensures that each key is used once and only once for a single specific transaction, and that its secrecy is guaranteed by the laws of nature themselves. This makes the archive's access control system not just secure for today, but future-proofed against any conceivable advancement in computing. A hostile entity in the distant future could have a computer 1 trillion times more powerful than anything we have now, and it would be completely useless against a quantum encrypted channel. They cannot break the laws of physics. This level of security is crucial for maintaining the integrity and trust of the entire project. It allows the international governing body to strictly control who can access what information, ensuring that culturally sensitive materials are only viewed by approved scholars or that dangerous scientific knowledge is kept from those who would misuse it. The quantum lock on the archive's door is the final, critical guarantee that this monument to human achievement will forever remain a force for enlightenment and never become a tool for destruction. Yet this staggering technological achievement, this celestial vault of diamond and light, leads us to one of the most profound and deeply human questions of the entire endeavor. What do we put inside? We are faced with the ultimate act of curation, a task of such immense weight and responsibility that it transcends simple selection and enters the realm of philosophical and ethical judgment. The archive, for all its vast capacity, is not infinite. We cannot save everything. Every single choice of what to include is, by its very nature, a choice of what to exclude. This process of deciding what truly defines us, what constitutes the essential narrative of humanity, is arguably the most difficult and contentious part of the entire project. It forces us to look in a mirror held up to all of civilization and make a call on what is truly worthy of eternity. To navigate this monumental responsibility, the project has convened a truly global brain trust, an international, rotating panel comprised of the world's leading historians, scientists, artists, linguists, philosophers, and ethicists. This is not a closed committee of a single nationality or culture. It is a deliberate and constantly evolving mosaic of human perspective. Their mandate is as simple to state as it is impossible to perfectly execute: to select works that represent the unparalleled breadth and stunning depth of human culture, creating a balanced and inclusive record that tells our collective story in all its beautiful, contradictory complexity. They are not just choosing artifacts, they are attempting to write the definitive biography of our species, with all its triumphs, failures, artistry, and ingenuity. The guiding principle for this council is universal significance. They are searching for the ideas and creations that have shaped not just one nation or people, but all of humanity. Foundational documents like the Magna Carta, the Declaration of Human Rights, and the teachings of philosophers from Confucius to Kant form the bedrock of our shared concepts of justice and morality. Great works of literature, from the Epic of Gilgamesh to the novels of Tolstoy and the poetry of Sappho, are preserved not merely as stories, but as explorations of the human condition that resonate across centuries and continents. Monumental scientific breakthroughs, the theory of evolution, the laws of thermodynamics, the structure of DNA are included as the pillars of our understanding of the universe itself. But the Council's most critical and delicate work lies in ensuring this record is not dominated by any single perspective. There is a conscious, active effort to avoid the historical trap of a Western-centric or elitist viewpoint. This means going far beyond the traditional Western canon to actively seek out and preserve the cultural artifacts of marginalized and indigenous communities. The oral histories of Native American tribes, the intricate weaving patterns of Andean cultures that encode complex cosmological beliefs, the ancient songlines of Australian Aboriginal peoples that map the continent. These are given equal weight and importance alongside a Shakespearean sonnet or a Beethoven symphony. The goal is to ensure that the archive does not tell the story of only the powerful and the victorious, but also of the quiet, the resilient, and the overlooked. It is an attempt to capture the full, glorious spectrum of the human experience, ensuring that a future reader would understand not only our capacity for building great cities, but also our profound connection to the land, the sea, and the stars. This is the ultimate act of cultural humility and respect, a promise that our story will be told in all its diverse voices. This brings us to a fascinating and deeply pragmatic dilemma at the heart of the archive, the great format debate. On one hand, we have the incredible power of digital storage, a modern miracle that allows us to fit the contents of entire libraries onto a device the size of your fingernail. Its advantages are undeniable. Digital data is incredibly dense, meaning we can store a staggering amount of information in a very small physical space. It's also perfectly replicable. We can make 1 million identical copies of a digital file without any generation loss, ensuring that the 1,000th copy is just as pristine as the original. This efficiency is what makes the archive's vast scope even possible. Yet, for all its power, digital storage carries a hidden and profound vulnerability. It is entirely dependent on context. A digital file is not a thing you can look at. It is an abstract representation, a complex code of ones and zeros that is completely meaningless without the specific hardware and software designed to interpret it. Think of it like a locked safe. The data is inside, but without the exact right key, the right file format, the right operating system, the right decoding algorithm, it remains an indecipherable mystery. We see this problem already happening here on Earth with digital obsolescence. How many of us have floppy disks or zip drives in a drawer filled with precious family photos, but no working drive to read them? The information is still physically there on the magnetic material, but the technology to access it has vanished. For an archive designed to last millennia, this is an existential threat. A future civilization, or even our own descendants after a dark age, might hold a perfectly preserved solid-state drive in their hands and have absolutely no way of understanding what it contains. This is why the archive looks to the past for a solution, turning to the timeless reliability of analog formats. These are methods where the information is directly and physically represented in a way that can often be interpreted by the human senses alone or with very simple tools. The nanoscale etching on diamond substrates we discussed is the ultimate expression of this. It is a physical topography, a landscape of data. To read it, one would ultimately only need a powerful enough microscope to see the patterns and an understanding of basic binary logic to decode them. Other analog methods considered include specialized optical discs, where data is etched into durable metal foils, or even high-resolution microfilm. These formats are generally less dense than their digital counterparts. You can't fit as much information in the same space, but they trade that efficiency for incredible durability and technological independence. They are the ultimate low-tech backup. Recognizing that neither format is perfect on its own, the archive's solution is a masterstroke of pragmatic redundancy, a deliberate and thoughtful hybrid approach. For every critically important item in the collection, it is not stored just once, but in multiple, different formats across various media types. The complete text of the Bible, for instance, might exist as a digital file on radiation-hardened drives, as a nanoscale etching on a diamond wafer, and as a series of high-contrast micro-engravings on a corrosion-proof metal plate. This is the digital and the analog working in concert, each serving as a backup for the other's inherent weaknesses. But the true genius of this system lies in the instructions. Alongside the data itself, the archive includes what are essentially the Rosetta Stones for decoding it. These are detailed, visual guides stored in the most analog way possible using simple diagrams, pictograms, and basic mathematical notation that explain the concepts of binary code, how to build a basic microscope, and how to interpret the patterns they see. They might include a scale bar next to a series of etched dots, visually demonstrating that a certain distance represents a 1 and a different distance represents a 0. By providing these universal, technology-agnostic decoding keys, we ensure that the meaning locked within both the digital and analog formats can be unlocked. It is a strategy that embraces the best of both worlds, ensuring that our message isn't just preserved, but that it remains perpetually understandable, no matter how much the world changes. Now, with our priceless cultural treasures safely stored across multiple formats and shielded by unbreakable quantum locks, we encounter a new challenge of almost unimaginable scale. How do you possibly manage a library that is not only vast but also designed to operate completely autonomously for thousands of years? This is where the project transcends mere engineering and embraces a form of digital consciousness. Artificial intelligence is the invisible, omnipresent librarian of this celestial collection, the intelligent glue that holds the entire monumental endeavor together, transforming it from a static warehouse of data into a living, breathing, and thinking repository. The first and most fundamental task for this AI is one of almost inconceivable organization. We are not talking about cataloging a few million books. We are talking about curating the sum total of human expression, a collection that is constantly growing and evolving. The AI's initial role is to ingest each new item, whether it's a digital scan of an ancient papyrus, a high-resolution film of a tribal dance, or a complex dataset from the Large Hadron Collider, and perform a deep semantic analysis. It doesn't just read the title or the metadata, it comprehends the content. Using natural language processing and advanced pattern recognition, it identifies the key themes, historical contexts, influential figures, and even the emotional resonance of a work. It can understand that a particular poem from 8th century China shares thematic parallels with a protest song from 20th century America, and it will create an invisible hyperlink between them within its vast neural network. This allows it to build a searchable index of such depth and nuance that a future researcher could ask, "Show me all works that explore the concept of hope in the face of societal collapse," and receive a curated list from every corner of the collection and every era of history, perfectly tailored to their query. But the AI's duties extend far beyond the cerebral task of cataloging into the critical realm of physical guardianship. It acts as the perpetual, vigilant doctor for the archive's own body. Thousands of sensors embedded throughout the satellite swarm constantly feed data back to the AI's central nervous system. Temperature readings, radiation exposure levels, power output from solar panels, and the integrity of every memory bank. Machine learning models, trained on millions of simulations of component failure, continuously analyze this torrent of information. They aren't just looking for things that are broken. They are looking for the faint, early whispers of something that might break in 6 months or 6 years. They might detect a subtle, almost imperceptible increase in the error correction rate in a specific storage module, a telltale sign that the underlying hardware is beginning to succumb to the constant radiation bath of space. Long before a human engineer would ever notice a problem, the AI has already diagnosed the issue, calculated the remaining functional lifespan of the component, and initiated a protocol. It will begin silently, seamlessly migrating the data from that aging module to a healthier one, all while the archive remains fully operational. It schedules these data transfers for periods of low activity, managing the archive's own health with a quiet, preemptive efficiency that ensures no bit is ever lost to neglect. Looking even further into the future, the role of this artificial intelligence is poised to evolve from a manager into something closer to a cultural curator itself. As the archive continues to accept new contributions from Earth, the volume of potential material will eventually surpass the ability of any human panel to review it all. The AI could be tasked with the profound responsibility of pre-screening and even recommending new content for inclusion. It would be programmed with the core ethical and cultural principles established by its human creators, a prioritization of diversity, universal significance, and historical value. It could then tirelessly scan the entire output of global culture, from the rise of a new digital art form to the rediscovery of a lost indigenous language, identifying trends and works that meet the strict criteria for preservation. It could flag a powerful new documentary or a significant scientific paper, presenting it to the Human Oversight Committee with a reasoned argument for its eternal value. This is not about replacing human judgment, but about augmenting it with a tireless, unbiased, and globally comprehensive perspective, ensuring that the archive continues to reflect a living, breathing culture and doesn't simply become a frozen snapshot of a single moment in time. This intelligent, autonomous management is the final, crucial element that binds all the other technological marvels together. The radiation-hardened drives, the diamond wafers, the solar sails, and the quantum encryption are the archive's body, its bones and skin and armor. The artificial intelligence is its brain and its central nervous system, the thing that gives it awareness, purpose, and a fighting chance at true immortality. It is what ensures that this great library in the void remains not just a silent, dusty tomb of information, but a dynamic, organized, and eternally functional testament to the species that built it. This monumental undertaking, the safeguarding of our entire cultural legacy, is by its very nature an endeavor that cannot belong to any single nation, corporation, or ideology. The archive in the vacuum is, from its foundation, a project for and by all of humanity. Its success hinges on an unprecedented level of international collaboration, a symphony of coordination between the world's space agencies, leading cultural institutions, governments, and non-governmental organizations. Imagine the logistical and diplomatic ballet required to align the priorities of NASA, the European Space Agency, Roscosmos, the China National Space Administration, and countless others, all while incorporating the expertise of global bodies like UNESCO and the Library of Congress. This isn't just about sharing technology, it's about forging a shared vision for the future of our species, a vision that must transcend the terrestrial politics and rivalries that so often divide us. To prevent this celestial library from ever falling under the control of a single powerful entity, its governance is established not by a corporate charter, but by a binding multinational treaty, a new kind of space agreement that treats knowledge as a common heritage of humanity. This foundational document is a remarkable piece of international law, meticulously crafted to address the unique challenges of an eternal archive. It establishes a clear and transparent framework for the three pillars of its operation: governance, access, and content selection. A rotating international council with representation from every corner of the globe is empowered to make executive decisions, ensuring that no one country or culture can ever dominate the narrative held within the vault. The treaty explicitly forbids the weaponization of any information stored within the archive and establishes strict ethical protocols for access, ensuring that sensitive cultural materials are only available to those with the proper scholarly or educational credentials, as verified by a decentralized, multi-layered approval system. Perhaps most importantly, this is not a static set of rules carved in stone. The architects of this project understand that technology, ethics, and our very understanding of culture will evolve in ways we cannot possibly predict. Therefore, the treaty is designed as a living document. It mandates regular reviews, perhaps once every generation, where a new assembly of international delegates, ethicists, and technologists convenes to assess and update the guidelines. They might debate new data storage formats that have emerged, reconsider the ethical implications of preserving certain types of genetic information, or integrate new languages that have gained global significance. This built-in adaptability is what allows the archive's mission to remain relevant and its integrity intact across centuries, ensuring it can respond to the changing needs and values of humanity without being beholden to the outdated ideas of its founders. This ongoing collaborative framework stands as a powerful testament to what our species can accomplish when we choose to look beyond our borders and work together toward a goal that benefits every single person on the planet and all those who may come after us. This monumental act of selecting what deserves to live forever inevitably forces us to confront one of the most profound and deeply human questions of the entire endeavor: who gets to decide? The very act of curation, of choosing one thing over another, is an exercise in power. It always has been. Throughout history, the story that gets told is most often the story of the victors, the wealthy, the powerful, those with the resources to build the libraries and fund the museums. The archive in the vacuum, for all its futuristic grandeur, risks repeating these ancient biases if it is not built upon a foundation of radical inclusivity and conscious ethical scrutiny. This isn't just about avoiding offense, it's about the fundamental integrity of the project. An archive that claims to represent all of humanity but is skewed toward a single perspective would be a historical forgery, a lie frozen in time for eternity, and would ultimately fail in its most sacred mission. To combat this, the International Curation Panel operates under a revolutionary mandate. Its membership is deliberately designed to be a rotating, global mosaic, ensuring that no single cultural, national, or academic viewpoint can ever dominate for long. It's not enough to have a single representative from a broad region. The goal is to include the specific, granular voices of practicing artists from Nigeria, linguists specializing in endangered Amazonian languages, historians of pre-colonial Southeast Asia, and philosophers from indigenous traditions. They are not there as tokens but as essential guides, bringing with them entirely different frameworks for understanding what is valuable. A Western academic might prioritize a written treatise on political theory, while a member from an oral tradition might advocate for the preservation of a specific ceremonial chant, arguing that the melody, rhythm, and performance contain philosophical and historical knowledge that cannot be adequately captured in text alone. Both are right, and the archive must find a way to accommodate both. This leads to the active, prioritized search for what has historically been excluded. Specialized subcommittees are dedicated solely to seeking out and preserving indigenous knowledge systems and endangered languages. This goes far beyond simply recording a dictionary. It involves preserving the entire ecological context of that knowledge. For instance, saving a language used to describe medicinal plants is useless without also preserving the intricate understanding of how those plants are identified, harvested, and prepared, knowledge that is often encoded in stories, songs, and rituals. Similarly, the complex astronomical knowledge of Polynesian navigators who traversed the vast Pacific using only the stars, waves, and wildlife is given the same weight as the data from the Hubble Space Telescope. They represent two magnificent complementary ways of understanding our place in the cosmos. Yet, for all this conscious effort, immense challenges stubbornly remain. The very infrastructure of global knowledge is built upon a system that has historically marginalized certain voices. The existing historical record is itself biased. The documents, books, and artworks that have already been preserved in major institutions are overwhelmingly from dominant cultures. The archive must therefore not only preserve what is readily available, but also actively engage in a form of cultural archaeology, sending teams to work directly with communities to record and digitize knowledge that has never been written down. This is painstaking, respectful work that cannot be rushed. Furthermore, the practical limitation of physical space in the archive creates a brutal zero-sum game. Does one include a comprehensive database of every known species of beetle, which is a monumental scientific achievement, or does that space get allocated to preserving the entire filmography of a small but culturally significant national cinema? There is no objectively correct answer, only difficult, soul-searching choices made through continuous dialogue and unwavering transparency. The goal is not a perfect, bias-free selection, an impossible dream, but a process that is so open, so inclusive, and so humble that the final collection earns the trust of the world it seeks to represent, honoring the breathtaking, beautiful, and complicated tapestry of human experience in all its forms. Of course, such a grand vision for eternity does not come without a staggering price tag. We are talking about developing radical new technologies, constructing incredibly durable satellites, and launching them on some of the most powerful rockets ever built into a distant and precise orbit. Then we must consider the centuries of autonomous maintenance, the constant energy required to power its systems, and the global ground-based infrastructure needed to manage access and communications. The initial capital required is measured not in millions, but in the tens of billions of dollars, a figure that would make even the wealthiest nations pause. This immediately rules out any traditional funding model. No single government or corporation could or should shoulder this cost alone. The economic architecture supporting the archive must be as innovative, resilient, and multifaceted as its technology, designed for long-term sustainability rather than short-term profit. The launch phase, the most capital-intensive part of the endeavor, is being fueled by a powerful synergy of public and private investment. We see a new kind of partnership emerging, where space agencies like NASA and the ESA contribute their heavy lift launch capabilities and deep space expertise at a reduced cost, viewing it as a fundamental part of their scientific and cultural missions. In return, private aerospace companies, often backed by visionary philanthropists and impact investors, take on the financial risk of developing the specialized storage modules and satellite buses, leveraging the project to advance their own technologies in materials science and autonomous systems. This public-private model effectively shares the immense financial burden while aligning the goals of national institutions with the innovative drive of the commercial sector. Alongside this, international grants from organizations dedicated to cultural preservation and scientific advancement provide crucial seed funding, validating the project's global significance and attracting further investment. However, building the archive is only half the challenge. The other half is ensuring it can function effectively for millennia. This requires a shift from one-time capital investment to a model of perpetual financial sustainability. The solution lies in the ancient concept of an endowment, but on a truly cosmic scale. A significant portion of the initial funding is placed into a professionally managed global trust fund, specifically designed to exist in perpetuity. The core principle is that this endowment is never spent. Only the investment returns generated from it are used to fund the archive's ongoing operational costs, the energy for its transmitters, the AI's processing power, and the occasional robotic repair mission. This creates a financial engine that, if properly sized and managed, can theoretically power the archive forever, completely independent of further donations or political whims. To supplement this, the project has launched a global micro-donation initiative, allowing individuals from every corner of the world to contribute directly. The concept is that for the price of a cup of coffee, anyone can become a literal stakeholder in humanity's future, purchasing a symbolic square centimeter of the archive or sponsoring the preservation of a specific poem or song. This not only raises funds but, more importantly, fosters a profound sense of global ownership and connection to the project, making it a truly collective human achievement. Looking toward a more systemic solution, some economists and cultural leaders have proposed a revolutionary idea: a universal cultural tax on digital services. The logic is elegant and self-reinforcing. As our world rapidly digitizes, an ever-increasing amount of our cultural production and consumption happens online through massive platforms that generate enormous revenue. The proposal suggests mandating that a tiny fraction of a percent, almost invisible to the end user, of the revenue from major digital streaming services, cloud storage providers, and social media networks be automatically directed into the archive's endowment fund. In essence, the very digital economy that is creating vast amounts of fragile, ephemeral data would be directly funding the permanent, secure preservation of our most valuable pieces of that digital culture. It transforms the archive from a charity into a vital piece of global infrastructure, as essential as a library or a museum, with a funding stream that naturally scales with the growth of the digital world it aims to protect. These diverse economic strategies are carefully woven together to create a robust and redundant financial safety net. The goal is to ensure the project's mission remains pure and uncorrupted. By avoiding over-reliance on any single funding source, be it a government that might change its priorities or a corporation that might seek influence, the archive safeguards its altruistic goal. It is not designed to generate a return on investment for shareholders, but to provide the ultimate return for humanity, the guaranteed survival of our story. This makes it unlike any other major project in history. It is an investment where the dividend is not paid out in quarterly statements, but in the profound security of knowing that the light of human civilization, in all its dazzling variety, will continue to shine in the darkness of space long after we are gone, a timeless gift from the present to the future. Getting these priceless cultural arcs into their final celestial resting place is a logistical ballet of almost unimaginable complexity, a multi-act operation that represents the absolute pinnacle of our current spacefaring capabilities. This isn't a single rocket launch, it's a carefully orchestrated campaign, a series of missions spread out over years, each one a critical piece of a much larger puzzle. The journey begins on the launch pad with the earth-shaking roar of the world's most powerful heavy-lift rockets. Vehicles like NASA's Space Launch System, SpaceX's Starship, or their international equivalents are the only ones with the sheer muscle required for this task. Their massive payload bays are packed not with a single, finished satellite, but with multiple heavily shielded storage modules, each one a self-contained vault of human knowledge. These modules are designed for the rigors of launch, built to withstand the tremendous vibrations and G-forces that would shred a conventional satellite. They are the seeds of the archive, and their safe passage out of Earth's gravity well is the first and most dramatic step in their multi-million-year journey. Once these modules successfully achieve orbit, the delicate and precise work of assembly begins. They are not simply released to drift on their own. Instead, they are carefully maneuvered into a predetermined transfer orbit, a kind of celestial holding pattern. Here, in the quiet darkness, the construction phase starts. Specially designed robotic assembly spacecraft, themselves launched on earlier missions, move into action. These are not the humanoid robots of science fiction, but sophisticated, agile platforms equipped with multiple manipulator arms, advanced docking systems, and incredibly precise guidance computers. Their task is to rendezvous with each new module, gently grasp it, and meticulously connect it to the growing archive structure. They link power conduits, data buses, and communication arrays, physically and digitally weaving the individual modules into a single, cohesive, and functional whole. This process is conducted with painstaking slowness and precision, an orbital dance where a single miscalculation measured in millimeters could result in a catastrophic collision, turning a priceless cultural repository into just another cloud of dangerous space debris. The final and most critical phase is the journey from this assembly orbit out to the archive's permanent home in deep space. This is not a quick trip. Using highly efficient but low-thrust ion engines or precisely timed thruster burns, the now complete archive satellite begins a slow, spiraling journey outward, a weeks or even months-long migration away from the safety of Earth's immediate vicinity. Every moment of this transit is monitored by a global network of ground-based tracking stations and space situational awareness systems. Flight controllers from multiple international space agencies work in shifts around the clock, watching the archive's trajectory with hawk-like intensity. Their primary concern is collision avoidance. They are constantly cross-referencing the archive's path with the known locations of thousands of other satellites and hundreds of thousands of pieces of trackable debris, ready to command a minor course correction at the first sign of a potential conjunction. This hypervigilance ensures the archive doesn't survive the perils of Earth, only to be destroyed by a piece of a forgotten satellite on its way to its sanctuary. Finally, after its long and carefully shepherded voyage, the archive satellite arrives at its predetermined orbital slot, a gravitationally stable point in the profound emptiness of deep space. Here, the final activation sequence is initiated. With commands sent from Earth, the satellite unfurls its massive solar sails, which glint like silver wings in the distant sunlight. Its internal systems, which have been in a low-power hibernation mode during transit, whir to life. The AI begins its initial diagnostic checks, scanning every memory bank and sensor. The quantum encryption system generates its first keys. The silent, eternal vigil begins. This entire breathtaking process, from the fiery ascent off the pad to the final, silent activation a million miles away, is a testament to what humanity can achieve when we collaborate on a global scale. It requires flawless coordination between engineers in California, launch technicians in French Guiana, flight controllers in Russia, and scientists in Japan. Every successful launch is more than just a technical achievement. It is a profound act of hope, a physical step toward securing a legacy that will far outlast every nation, every language, and every individual involved in its creation. It is our species working in concert to gently place our most precious memories into a vault of nothingness, where they can be kept safe by the very laws of the universe itself. Before we could even dream of building a library in the deep void of space, we first had to prove that such a thing was possible much closer to home. This crucial proof of concept arrived in the form of a remarkable project known as the Lunar Library, a pioneering mission that took the first tangible step toward making off-world preservation a reality. Think of it as the prototype, the initial test flight that provided the invaluable data and confidence needed to design the far more ambitious archive in the vacuum. This wasn't a theoretical exercise, it was a physical archive, small but incredibly dense, that successfully landed on the lunar surface, demonstrating that we could indeed store vast amounts of information in an environment completely alien to our own. The technological heart of the Lunar Library was a marvel of miniaturization and material science. Instead of relying on fragile digital drives or conventional storage media, the project's architects turned to an incredibly durable and timeless method, nanoscale etching. They used 25 nickel discs, each only 40 microns thick, that's thinner than a human hair. Onto these discs, they used focused ion beams to physically etch millions of pages of human knowledge, including the entire English-language version of Wikipedia, tens of thousands of books, and a huge collection of music, photographs, and illustrations. This method was chosen specifically for its longevity. Unlike digital storage, which can become unreadable as technology evolves, these physical etchings are a permanent, analog record. To read them, a future explorer wouldn't need a specific computer or a special operating system. They would simply need a powerful enough microscope and a basic understanding of the binary code used to arrange the data. It's a low-tech solution for high-tech preservation, designed to be intelligible across eons. The choice of the Moon as the repository was also deeply strategic. While not as perfectly stable as a deep space orbit, the lunar environment offers unique advantages for a first attempt. Its surface is geologically dead, meaning there are no earthquakes or volcanic activity to disturb the archive. It also lacks an atmosphere, so there is no wind, rain, or oxygen to cause weathering, corrosion, or erosion. The library was designed to be deposited in a lava tube or a sheltered crater, protecting it from the constant bombardment of micrometeorites and the extreme temperature swings between lunar day and night. By surviving in this harsh but manageable environment, the Lunar Library served as the perfect test bed, providing critical real-world data on how materials and data encoding hold up in an off-world setting. Every moment it remains intact on the Moon is a piece of evidence confirming that our approach to eternal preservation is sound. The lessons learned from this lunar endeavor are now directly informing every aspect of the orbital archive's design. The Lunar Library taught us invaluable lessons about material selection. The performance of the nickel discs under lunar conditions is providing a benchmark for testing even more resilient materials, like the diamond substrates planned for the deeper space archive. It also validated the nanoscale etching process itself, proving that we can achieve the necessary data density and durability. Perhaps most importantly, it forced us to think critically about data organization and the instructions for retrieval. The Lunar Library includes primers on human languages, basic concepts of science, and visual guides on how to decode the disks. This experience highlighted the absolute necessity of making the archive self-explanatory, a lesson that is central to the multi-format, multi-language approach of the larger vault in deep orbit. In the grand narrative of human preservation, the Lunar Library is far more than a mere experiment. It is the foundational stepping stone. It represents the moment we moved from dreaming about preserving our culture in space to actually doing it. It demonstrated the feasibility, tested the core technologies, and built the international confidence required to embark on a project as staggeringly ambitious as the archive in the vacuum. That small, silent library on the Moon is our first message, our first footprint on the path to eternity. It is the successful prototype that shouts back to Earth that the vision is achievable, giving us the green light to build a future where our entire story is no longer tethered to the vulnerabilities of our home planet. Even in the remote sanctuary of deep orbit, the archive is not operating in a perfect, sterile bubble. The cosmos, for all its majestic emptiness, is a dynamic and occasionally violent environment, filled with unseen hazards that pose a constant, low-level threat to any permanent structure. While deep orbit was specifically chosen to avoid the crowded and dangerous traffic of lower orbits, it is not completely empty. The greatest threat comes from micrometeoroids, tiny, naturally occurring fragments of rock and metal, often no larger than a grain of sand, but traveling at speeds that can exceed 50,000 miles per hour. At that velocity, even a speck of dust carries the kinetic energy of a bullet, capable of puncturing armor and severing critical wiring. Then there are the unpredictable tantrums of our own star. Solar flares and coronal mass ejections can unleash immense waves of radiation and charged particles that wash over the archive, potentially frying sensitive electronics and scrambling data, despite the best radiation hardening. Even the seemingly stable gravitational fields out there have their subtle complexities. The gravitational influence of the Moon, the Sun, and even the slight bulge of Earth's equator can create tiny perturbations, minute wobbles in the archive's orbit that, if left uncorrected for centuries, could slowly nudge it off course and into potential danger. To stand against these relentless forces, the archive is designed not as a fragile, static monument, but as a resilient, active fortress. Its first line of defense is its physical shielding. Critical components, especially the storage modules housing the diamond wafers and hardened drives, are encased in layers of specialized armor. This isn't just simple metal plating, it's a composite shield often referred to as a Whipple shield. The concept involves an outer bumper layer designed to vaporize an incoming micrometeoroid on impact, causing it to spread out into a cloud of less damaging plasma and debris before it can reach the inner, main wall of the module. This same shielding also helps absorb and dissipate the energy from radiation bursts, but armor alone is a passive defense. The archive also possesses a limited but crucial ability to move. Using the gentle, continuous thrust of its solar sails or tiny, precisely calibrated cold gas thrusters for more immediate maneuvers, the satellite can perform small orbital adjustments. If Earth-based tracking systems identify a potential collision course with a trackable piece of debris, perhaps a fragment from some long-forgotten mission that has wandered into the region, they can uplink a course correction, commanding the archive to shift its position by just a few meters, a tiny sidestep that makes all the difference between a catastrophic impact and a near miss. The true genius of its design, however, lies in the principle of distributed redundancy. The archive is not a single, monolithic satellite where a single strike could be a kill shot. It is a decentralized swarm of independent yet interconnected modules, spread out over a vast volume of space. Each module is a self-contained library, holding complete copies of the entire cultural dataset. This means that even if the worst should happen, if a module is completely obliterated by a rogue meteoroid or disabled by an extreme solar event, the loss is not absolute. The information is not lost, it simply becomes unavailable from that one node. The remaining modules, orbiting a safe distance away, continue their vigil uninterrupted, preserving the entirety of human culture without a single bit being lost. The system is designed to withstand multiple such losses and still remain fully functional, a digital embodiment of the old adage about not putting all your eggs in one basket. This entire defensive strategy is enabled by an unblinking, watchful eye from the home planet, a global network of powerful radar installations and optical telescopes, operated by space agencies and private tracking companies around the world, maintains a constant vigil on the archive's region of space. This space situational awareness network is continuously mapping the trajectories of everything larger than a softball in the orbital environment, creating a living, breathing map of potential hazards. Their powerful sensors can detect the faint glint of a piece of debris years before its path might intersect with the archive's orbit, providing ample early warning to plan and execute an avoidance maneuver. They also constantly monitor solar activity, giving forecasters the ability to predict incoming radiation storms with enough lead time to command the archive to temporarily power down its most sensitive systems and enter a protective safe mode, weathering the storm in a state of electronic hibernation. Despite this immense array of precautions, the shielding, the mobility, the redundancy, and the vigilant monitoring, a fundamental truth must be acknowledged. We are operating in a realm where absolute 100% safety is a scientific impossibility. Space is governed by probability and chaos theory. There will always be an element of inherent uncertainty, the ever-present chance of a completely unforeseen event. A swarm of micrometeoroids too small for any radar to detect could materialize out of the void. A gravitational anomaly from a passing, undetected dark matter object could theoretically perturb an orbit in an unpredictable way, or a solar superflare, an event orders of magnitude more powerful than any in recorded history, could erupt without the typical warning signs, overwhelming even the most hardened systems. These are not likely scenarios, but they are physically possible. This acceptance of a tiny, residual risk is not a failure of design. It is a sober acknowledgement of the reality of exploring and utilizing the cosmos. We have done everything within our current power to create a sanctuary for our memory, building in layers of resilience that make its survival across millennia not just a hope, but a statistically overwhelming probability. The archive is designed to be as eternal as anything built by mortals can possibly be, a testament to our resolve to protect our story against all but the very worst that an indifferent universe could possibly throw at it. But designing a system to last for millennia means completely rethinking our relationship with maintenance. We cannot simply plan for a future where technicians in spaceships fly out for routine servicing. The distances are too vast, the timescales too long, and the very idea of a continuous human spacefaring civilization cannot be guaranteed. The archive must therefore possess a form of operational immortality, an ability to tend to its own needs through a sophisticated, multi-layered strategy of autonomous self-preservation. This isn't about building a static monument and hoping it survives. It's about creating a living, breathing system that can actively ensure its own survival across eons. At the heart of this endeavor is an artificial intelligence that acts as the archive's perpetual chief engineer. This is not a simple diagnostic program. It is a deeply sophisticated predictive system, a digital consciousness whose primary purpose is to model the aging process of every single component across the entire satellite swarm. Using a vast network of internal sensors, it continuously monitors millions of data points, minute fluctuations in power output from solar cells, subtle increases in error correction rates within memory banks, tiny deviations in thermal profiles, and microscopic stresses on structural elements. This constant stream of health data is fed into machine learning algorithms that have been trained on millions of simulations of component failure. The AI isn't just looking for things that are broken. It is listening for the faintest whispers of something that might break in 5, 10, or 50 years. It can identify that a specific maneuvering thruster is showing a pattern of slightly degraded performance that, if left unaddressed, will lead to a failure in 93 years. Long before that becomes a crisis, the AI can initiate a preemptive action, perhaps commandeering a redundant thruster and scheduling the ailing unit for inspection. For many of these internal issues, the solution is completely hands-off. The AI performs what can only be described as digital self-surgery. If it detects a memory module beginning to slowly succumb to radiation-induced bit rot, it doesn't wait for a catastrophic failure. During a period of low activity, it will seamlessly and silently migrate all the data from that aging module to a healthier one elsewhere in the network. It can reroute power flows around a slightly degraded electrical conduit, or adjust the orientation of the satellite to minimize stress on a particular joint. This is all achieved through software and the built-in redundancy of the system's design, a continuous, silent ballet of self-correction that requires no physical intervention whatsoever. However, some problems are undeniably physical. A solar sail might be punctured by a micrometeoroid too small to track from Earth, or a critical sensor could become obscured by space dust. For these scenarios, the archive has a mechanical cavalry, a fleet of highly specialized repair drones that reside alongside the main modules. These aren't humanoid robots, they are best thought of as sophisticated, mobile toolboxes equipped with manipulator arms, welders, cutting tools, and spare parts. They remain in a low-power hibernation state until summoned by the AI. When a physical task is identified, the AI awakens the appropriate drone, uploads a detailed repair plan, and dispatches it to the precise location. Using advanced computer vision, the drone can autonomously perform complex tasks like welding a tiny patch over a hole, using a jet of compressed gas to clear debris from a lens, or even replacing an entire modular component by unplugging the old unit and slotting in a new one. These drones are the archive's own capable hands, extending its ability to heal itself beyond the digital realm and into the physical. Looking even further into the future, the most visionary aspect of the upkeep strategy involves moving beyond mere repair to true self-sufficiency. This concept, known as in-situ resource utilization, would transform the archive from a closed system with finite spare parts into an open-ended, self-sustaining entity. The idea is that future generations of maintenance drones could be equipped to harvest raw materials directly from the space environment. They might mine water ice from passing asteroids or comets, not for drinking, but to split into hydrogen and oxygen for fuel. They could extract metals from captured space rocks to be 3D printed into new components or radiation shielding. An advanced drone might even be able to rendezvous with a small asteroid, anchor itself, and use the asteroid's own material to fabricate a whole new storage module, effectively allowing the archive to grow and expand itself using the resources of the solar system. This shifts the paradigm from a one-time installation with a limited lifespan to a truly perpetual, evolving entity that can sustain and even reinvent itself indefinitely. This entire intricate dance of predictive analytics, robotic repair, and potential future resource harvesting represents a monumental commitment to the principle of perpetual preservation. It is a recognition that preserving knowledge is not a one-time act of burial, but an ongoing process of stewardship. The archive is designed to be a guardian that needs little from its creators, a silent sentinel equipped with the intelligence and the tools to keep its own vigil. By leveraging autonomy in its most advanced form, we are building a system that can not only withstand the passive ravages of time but can actively fight against them, ensuring that the story of humanity remains not only safe but vibrantly, functionally alive for whoever or whatever comes looking for it. But how would someone or something actually find and unlock this treasure trove of knowledge after we are gone? The retrieval process is perhaps the most elegantly designed aspect of the entire archive, built on a foundation of radical accessibility. The architects of this project operate under a sobering assumption. The civilization that eventually discovers this repository may have no shared language, history, or even biological senses with us. They might be our own descendants who have lost our technology, or they could be an intelligent species from another star system whose very way of perceiving reality is alien to our own. Therefore, the system for accessing the data cannot rely on any Earth-specific conventions. It must speak the fundamental languages of the universe itself: mathematics, physics, and geometry. The first step is simply letting the universe know the archive is there. This is the role of the perpetual radio beacon, a low-power transmitter that broadcasts a continuous, repeating signal on a specific frequency. This isn't a complex data stream, but a simple, patterned pulse designed to stand out against the natural background radio noise of the cosmos. It's a cosmic lighthouse, its steady flash saying, "Look here." The signal itself is a primer, a lesson in basic communication. It might begin with a simple counting sequence, the prime numbers, for instance, which are a mathematical concept universal to any technologically advanced civilization. This pattern establishes a foundation of shared understanding, a common ground from which more complex instructions can be built. The beacon then transmits the archive's precise orbital parameters using fundamental constants, like the wavelength of light emitted by a hydrogen atom, which is the same everywhere in the universe. This allows any listener to pinpoint the archive's location with extraordinary accuracy. For those who successfully locate the archive, the next challenge is understanding how to interact with it. The exterior of the satellite modules is not a blank shell. It is covered in engraved panels that serve as the ultimate user manual. These instructions are not written in English or Mandarin, but in a visual, symbolic language based on universally observable scientific phenomena. A series of diagrams might depict the structure of the hydrogen atom, again using that universal constant as a unit of measurement and a key. Another set of pictograms could illustrate the process of using a basic microscope to read the nanoscale etchings on the diamond wafers, showing a beam of light hitting the surface and being reflected to a sensor, with the resulting patterns of dots and dashes clearly correlated to the binary ones and zeros of the code. These visual guides are designed to be intuitively understood through logic and observation, transcending the need for a shared spoken language. For civilizations that have maintained or rediscovered advanced technology, a more sophisticated access method awaits. This is where the quantum encryption system comes into play, not as a barrier but as a secure gateway. Authorized users, presumably future human societies or AI caretakers, would possess the technology to receive and decode the quantum keys. This process would grant them direct, high-bandwidth access to the digital archives, allowing for the swift retrieval of vast datasets. It also enables a layer of ethical control, ensuring that certain sensitive or dangerous information is only released to entities that have been verified and deemed responsible by the archive's governing protocols. This dual-layer system ensures the archive is both an open book for the curious and a secure vault for humanity's most powerful secrets. Ultimately, the access protocols are a breathtaking exercise in humility and hope. They represent our acknowledgement that we are not the permanent center of the universe, but a fleeting chapter in a much larger story. We are creating a system that trusts in the intelligence and curiosity of whoever finds it, providing them with all the tools they need to unravel our message. We are not presuming that our specific way of thinking is the only way. We are building a bridge from our island of knowledge to the mainland of cosmic understanding, using the timeless pillars of math and science as its foundations. It is indeed a message in a bottle, but one where the bottle is made of diamond and steel. The message is etched in atoms, and the ocean is the infinite void between the stars, waiting for a finder we can scarcely imagine. Perhaps the most beautiful and unexpected outcome of this celestial endeavor is not just the technology it creates, but the profound shift in perspective it fosters back here on Earth. The archive in the vacuum, by its very existence, becomes a powerful symbol that transcends politics, religion, and nationality, quietly reminding us of a fundamental truth we so often forget in our daily lives. We are all crew members on the same small, fragile planet, hurtling through the immense void of space together. This project, by aiming to represent all of humanity, forces us to consciously consider what that word truly means. It moves the conversation away from our differences and refocuses it on our shared human experience, our universal capacity for love, loss, creativity, curiosity, and wonder. It presents a vision of our species not as a collection of competing tribes, but as a single, intricate tapestry of stories, each thread essential to the whole. This isn't just an abstract idea. It's a narrative that is actively being woven into the fabric of our global culture, starting with the next generation. In classrooms from Tokyo to Buenos Aires, the archive is becoming a central pillar of a new kind of curriculum, one that merges STEM education with deep cultural and ethical inquiry. Students aren't just learning about orbital mechanics and data storage. They're engaged in passionate debates about the ethical dilemmas of curation. A classroom might be given a hypothetical budget and a list of 100 cultural items, from a sacred indigenous chant to the complete works of a pop culture icon, and tasked with the impossible job of choosing only 10 for preservation. These exercises do more than teach critical thinking. They build empathy. A student in one country is forced to argue for the preservation of a cultural artifact from a nation their own might be in conflict with because they recognize its objective value to the human story. This fosters a global citizenship mentality from a young age, where children begin to see themselves not just as citizens of a nation, but as stewards of a planet and contributors to a legacy that belongs to everyone. This sense of ownership and participation is powerfully extended to the global public through innovative engagement programs. Imagine a digital platform where anyone, anywhere, can nominate a piece of their personal or cultural heritage for consideration. A grandmother in Norway can upload a recording of a lullaby passed down through her family for centuries. A community in Kenya can submit high-resolution scans of intricate beadwork patterns that encode their history. A musician in India can contribute a new composition inspired by the very idea of the archive. While not every submission can be physically sent into space, many are digitally preserved in a complementary terrestrial database, and the act of contributing transforms people from passive observers into active participants in this grand human project. It democratizes the act of preservation, sending a powerful message that every culture, every community, and indeed every individual has a story worth saving, and that they have a direct hand in defining what our collective legacy will be. On the grandest scale, the archive has emerged as a rare and precious rallying point for genuine international cooperation. In a world often fractured by disagreement, this project represents a goal so universally admirable that it temporarily silences discord. The diplomatic negotiations required to build and maintain it are themselves an exercise in building trust and finding common ground. Scientists, engineers, and diplomats from nations with strained political relationships find themselves working side by side, united by a shared objective that transcends terrestrial squabbles. They are literally building our future together, bolt by bolt, line of code by line of code. This collaboration proves that our capacity for unity is not a naive dream, but a practical reality when we are motivated by a purpose larger than ourselves. The archive becomes a constant, orbiting reminder that our common interests, the preservation of our story, the pursuit of knowledge, the awe of exploration, far outweigh the things that divide us. It challenges us to lift our gaze from the map and look at the globe, to see past the borders we've drawn and recognize the shared home we must protect, both its biological life and its cultural soul. Sometimes the most profound benefits of a grand vision aren't found in the main goal itself, but in the unexpected gifts it leaves behind along the way. The immense technological challenges of building the archive in the vacuum have forced engineers and scientists to push the boundaries of what's possible, and in doing so, they've created a treasure trove of spin-off innovations that are already beginning to transform life right here on Earth. This phenomenon, where the drive to solve a cosmic problem unlocks powerful terrestrial solutions, is one of the most compelling arguments for ambitious space projects. The archive, in its quest to preserve our past, is actively building a better future for us in the present, in ways we are only starting to understand. Consider the problem of radiation, a silent killer for electronics in space. To combat it, scientists developed incredibly robust radiation-hardened storage devices. But it turns out, Earth has its own extreme environments where this technology is desperately needed. The same hardened data storage systems are now being deployed in the depths of the ocean to monitor deep-sea volcanoes and climate change, inside the containment vessels of next-generation nuclear reactors for safer operation, and even in the harsh, remote deserts and polar ice caps for scientific research stations. These facilities generate critical data that cannot be lost, and the archive's technology ensures their information remains intact against incredible environmental stresses. This isn't just a minor improvement, it's revolutionizing data integrity in places where a system failure could mean the loss of irreplaceable scientific data or even a catastrophic environmental event. The need to protect our cultural memory in space has directly led to stronger safeguards for the vital data that protects our planet today. Then there's the astonishing breakthrough of nanoscale etching. The process of carving data into diamond at an atomic level required monumental advances in precision engineering and materials science. The tools developed for this, particularly the focused ion beams, are now being used in laboratories around the world to create previously unimaginable materials. Medical researchers are using this etching technology to develop new biomaterials for implants, creating surfaces at the nano level that can better bond with human bone or resist bacterial infection. In the world of computing, this precision is helping to push the boundaries of microchip design, potentially leading to faster, more efficient processors. The quest to create a forever readable record has given us the tools to manipulate matter itself with unprecedented control, opening doors to new industries and medical breakthroughs that extend far beyond the field of data storage. We set out to write our history in diamond and accidentally gained the ability to rewrite the future of medicine and technology. Perhaps the most visually poetic spin-off is the advancement of solar sail technology. Developed to provide the archive with eternal, fuel-free station keeping, these giant reflective sails are poised to revolutionize how we explore our own solar system. Traditional spacecraft are limited by the fuel they can carry. Once it's spent, the mission is effectively over. But a solar sail craft, propelled by the gentle but constant pressure of sunlight, can theoretically travel forever, accelerating gradually but continuously to achieve incredible speeds over time. This enables a whole new class of missions. We could send fleets of small, low-cost sailcraft to act as early warning systems for solar storms, giving us more time to protect Earth's power grids. They could be used to set up permanent stations at gravitationally stable points between planets, acting as communication relays or observatories, or they could be deployed on long-duration, slow science missions to the outer solar system, traveling for decades but requiring no fuel, making them incredibly cost-effective. The technology that lets our archive hold its position without a whisper is the very same technology that could finally open the solar system to sustained, affordable exploration, turning science fiction dreams into tangible mission plans. Finally, the sophisticated artificial intelligence developed to manage the archive's health is finding immediate and life-saving applications in some of Earth's most dangerous professions. The AI's ability to predict system failures by analyzing subtle patterns in sensor data is perfectly suited for managing complex, remote machinery. In the deep-sea mining and oil industries, autonomous robotic vehicles equipped with this AI can now perform inspections and repairs on underwater infrastructure, predicting leaks or structural fatigue long before they become disasters, all while keeping human operators safely on the surface. In the aftermath of natural disasters like earthquakes or hurricanes, search and rescue robots using this technology can navigate collapsed and unstable structures. Their AI can assess the structural integrity of rubble in real time, predicting secondary collapses and ensuring the safety of both survivors and human rescue teams. This isn't just about convenience, it's about risk mitigation and saving lives. The autonomous caretaker we built for a library in the void is now watching over us in the most perilous environments on our own planet. This cascade of innovation is a powerful reminder that humanity's greatest challenges are often the catalysts for our most beneficial breakthroughs. The archive in the vacuum does more than just safeguard our story. It acts as a powerful engine for technological progress, spinning off solutions that make our world safer, healthier, and more connected. It proves that by looking to the stars and asking the biggest questions, we don't just learn about the universe, we learn how to better our own world, creating a virtuous cycle where the pursuit of knowledge for its own sake yields practical wonders that improve the human condition for generations to come. With a cultural archive proving that the core concept is not only feasible but actively underway, our vision for using space as a sanctuary is rapidly expanding. This successful prototype establishes a foundational blueprint, a set of proven technologies and logistical frameworks that can now be adapted to protect other irreplaceable aspects of our world. We are beginning to see the emergence of an entirely new paradigm in preservation, one that moves beyond safeguarding our stories to actively ensuring the survival of life itself and the raw building blocks of our civilization. The cultural archive is not the final destination. It is the foundational cornerstone for a whole network of specialized orbital vaults, each dedicated to a different facet of our planet's precious heritage. One of the most urgent and logical next steps is the creation of off-world biological arks. Imagine a fleet of specialized satellites functioning as deep space seed banks, housing the genetic blueprints for Earth's immense biodiversity. While incredible facilities like the Svalbard Global Seed Vault already exist on Earth, they remain vulnerable to the very planetary-scale catastrophes the orbital archive is designed to withstand: supervolcanoes, asteroid impacts, or severe nuclear fallout. An orbital seed bank would provide the ultimate insurance policy. These satellites would be marvels of biopreservation engineering, maintaining their precious cargo of seeds, spores, and genetic material in the perfect, natural deep freeze of space. Using advanced cryogenic systems powered by solar energy, they could keep thousands of species in a state of suspended animation indefinitely, ready to be retrieved and used to reseed and restore a damaged biosphere centuries or even millennia from now. This would be more than a backup. It would be a promise of renewal, a guarantee that a single catastrophe could not erase the magnificent biological diversity it took billions of years to evolve. The concept extends even further with the idea of genetic libraries for endangered and extinct species. As advancements in genetics continue to accelerate, the possibility of someday de-extincting species like the woolly mammoth or the Tasmanian tiger moves from science fiction into the realm of serious scientific inquiry. But this ambitious goal is entirely dependent on the integrity of the genetic data. An orbital genetic library would serve as the ultimate secure hard drive for the DNA sequences of every known species, especially those teetering on the brink of extinction. By preserving this information in the immutable environment of deep space, we ensure that even if the last individual of a species dies on Earth, its complete genetic code is not lost forever. Future generations, armed with advanced biotechnology we can only imagine, would have the option to bring these creatures back, to restore lost branches to the tree of life, all because we had the foresight to save their fundamental code in a vault among the stars. Beyond the biological, the orbital sanctuary network could also house vast repositories of pure scientific and technical knowledge. Think of them as the ultimate engineering textbooks for civilization itself. These archives would contain the complete schematics for foundational technologies: how to generate electricity, how to smelt metal, how to manufacture semiconductors, how to produce antibiotics and vaccines. They would hold the mathematical formulas for everything from structural engineering to quantum physics, and the chemical processes for creating essential materials. This is not about preserving cultural expression, but about preserving our functional intelligence. If a future global catastrophe were to thrust humanity into a new dark age, where knowledge is lost and technology forgotten, these orbital libraries would provide the necessary jump-start to rebuild. They would be a ladder out of the rubble, offering a clear and direct path to reclaiming our technological advancement without having to rediscover every principle from scratch. It is the ultimate act of passing the torch, ensuring that the light of progress is never fully extinguished. On a deeply personal level, this expansion could one day reach into the realm of individual human stories. As the cost of data storage and launch services continues to decrease, we might see the rise of commercial services offering to preserve personal digital legacies in space. Individuals could choose to send family photo albums, video diaries, letters to future descendants, or even their entire digital footprint into the eternal safety of an orbital archive. This transforms the grand, impersonal project of species-wide preservation into something intimately personal. It offers a form of digital immortality, a way to say, "I was here and my story matters," ensuring that the memories of ordinary people are granted the same level of protection as the works of Shakespeare or the theories of Einstein. It democratizes eternity, allowing everyone to contribute their unique thread to the vast tapestry of human experience preserved above the Earth. Together, these expansions paint a picture of a future where space is not just a frontier for exploration, but a sanctuary for our very essence. We are evolving from a species that simply lives on its planet to one that actively curates and protects its legacy across multiple dimensions: cultural, biological, intellectual, and personal. We are building a distributed network of celestial arcs, each a specialized guardian for a different part of what makes our world and our existence within it so profoundly precious. This broader movement represents a monumental shift in consciousness, a recognition that our responsibility extends beyond our own lifetimes and our own atmosphere, embracing a duty to safeguard every facet of our wondrous and fragile inheritance for all time. Yet this grandest of all libraries is not a fortress sealed away by an elite few. It is a living, breathing institution with its doors perpetually open, inviting every single person on the planet to step inside and become a co-author of humanity's eternal story. This is where the concept of the archive truly transcends engineering and enters the realm of the human spirit through a global, digital town square known as the Public Participation and Crowdsourcing Initiative. Imagine a website accessible from any smartphone or computer in the world that doesn't just show you the archive's contents, but actively asks for your help in building it. This platform is the bridge between the celestial vault and the kitchen table, transforming a distant, abstract marvel into something intimately personal and participatory. It operates on a beautifully simple but powerful principle that the cultural artifacts which truly define us are not always found in grand museums or listed in academic textbooks. Often, they are tucked away in a family photo album, stored on a grandfather's old hard drive, or carried in the melody of a lullaby sung for generations. This is where you come in. The process begins with an open invitation to nominate the cultural works you believe are worthy of eternity. This isn't a suggestion box that goes ignored. Every submission is logged, reviewed, and given genuine consideration by the international curation panels. A teacher in Mumbai might nominate a collection of ancient Sanskrit poetry that she feels captures a unique philosophical viewpoint. A musician in New Orleans could put forward the original recordings of early jazz pioneers, arguing for the genre's foundational role in global music. A teenager in Norway might make a compelling case for the preservation of a beloved video game, not just as entertainment, but as a complex digital art form that defined a generation's storytelling. This system shatters the traditional top-down model of cultural preservation, where a small group of experts in ivory towers decides what is important for everyone. Instead, it fosters a global conversation, a democratic debate about what constitutes our shared heritage, ensuring the final collection is infused with the messy, beautiful, and diverse perspectives of real people. Beyond nominations, the project welcomes something even more personal: the donation of digital copies of family heirlooms. This initiative recognizes that the story of humanity is, in the end, a collection of billions of individual stories. The archive servers have dedicated vast amounts of space for these personal contributions. A family surviving a war might upload scanned letters exchanged between grandparents, a tangible record of love and resilience amidst chaos. Another might contribute a digital scan of a fragile, hand-stitched quilt, each patch telling a piece of their history. A community could work together to create high-resolution recordings of an elder performing a traditional song in a language that has only a few native speakers left. These contributions are powerful because they preserve the intimate, granular texture of human life, the joys, sorrows, and everyday moments that are so often left out of the official historical record. They ensure that the archive is not just a hall of fame for humanity's greatest hits, but a sprawling, intricate mosaic of our collective existence, where a child's drawing sits in the same eternal vault as the works of Da Vinci, each one a unique and irreplaceable testament to a life lived. For those who may not have a specific artifact to contribute but still wish to be part of this historic endeavor, there is a pathway to participate through micro-donations and direct funding. The platform features a transparent system where you can literally sponsor a piece of eternity. You might choose to fund the preservation of a specific poem, a song, or even a single iconic photograph. The system will show you exactly where your contribution goes, creating a direct, emotional link between your action and a specific piece of safeguarded culture. This transforms the project's funding from an abstract concept into a deeply personal act of patronage. It allows a coffee farmer in Colombia, a software engineer in South Korea, and a student in Egypt to all stand as equal benefactors in this grand project, their collective contributions ensuring that the archive remains free from the influence of any single government or corporation. It is a global barn raising for the digital age, where we all bring what we can to build a shelter for our shared memory. And for those who simply want to explore and connect, the archive offers breathtaking virtual access. Through immersive online platforms, you can take a virtual tour of the satellite clusters, zoom in on a digital replica of a diamond wafer, and explore curated collections of what has already been saved. You can listen to music from centuries ago, read letters from people long gone, and view art from cultures across the globe, all from your living room. This access is not a passive experience. It is designed to foster a profound sense of connection and ownership. It makes the archive feel less like a distant satellite and more like a shared treasure that belongs to all of us. By inviting the world to not just witness but to actively build, the archive in the vacuum achieves its most revolutionary goal. It democratizes destiny itself. It empowers everyone, everywhere, to pick up a pen and help write the message we are sending to the future, ensuring that the story told among the stars is rich, diverse, and truly represents all the voices of our wondrously chaotic and beautiful human family. And so we arrive at the profound truth at the heart of this entire endeavor. The archive in the vacuum, for all its diamond wafers and quantum encryption and solar sails, is not ultimately a story about technology. It is, in its purest form, a story about us. It is a breathtaking act of collective self-portraiture, a testament to humanity's unique and stubborn refusal to accept oblivion. Across millennia, we have painted our dreams on cave walls, carved our laws into stone steels, and pressed our thoughts into clay tablets. Now, we are etching our essence onto the very fabric of space itself. This project is the ultimate expression of our resilience, a declaration that even when faced with the sobering realities of climate change, potential conflict, and digital decay, we choose not to succumb to despair but to build. We choose to create a beacon of hope in the darkness, a whisper of who we were, cast into the eternal silence. This celestial library sends a powerful message, not just to some unknown future or to a hypothetical extraterrestrial finder, but to ourselves right here and now. It forces us to ask the most difficult and essential questions. What is the core of our identity? What is truly worth saving from the incredible, chaotic, and beautiful mess of human history? The very act of curating this collection holds up a mirror to our entire civilization, compelling us to look beyond our immediate disputes and recognize the profound, shared heritage that binds us all together. It challenges us to lift our gaze from the narrow concerns of the present moment and to consider the legacy we are crafting for generations we will never meet. We are building a bridge across time, a hand extended from the present to the future, saying, "We were here, we created, we loved, we wondered, and we learned." And we thought you should know, as this project continues to evolve, expanding from its first cultural modules to the biological arcs and scientific libraries of the future, it represents a continuous reaffirmation of our highest values. It is a promise we are making to the future, a commitment to preserving not only the beauty of a Mozart symphony or the brilliance of an Einstein equation, but also the intricate, irreplaceable tapestry of life itself and the fundamental knowledge needed to nurture it. Every new addition, every technological refinement, is a vote of confidence in the enduring power of knowledge, creativity, and compassion. It is our way of ensuring that the light of human civilization, in all its dazzling and flawed glory, will never be extinguished, that it will continue to shine as a faint but steady star in the cosmic night, a permanent part of the universe's story. Thank you for embarking on this incredible journey through the idea of eternal memory. We've explored the why, the how, and the profound what-if of safeguarding our story among the stars. If this vision of a shared human legacy resonated with you, if it made you think about what you would want to preserve, we would love to continue this conversation with you down in the comments. Let us know what single artifact, book, or song you would choose to save in the archive and why. your perspective adds another vital thread to this ongoing story. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the future of preservation, please show your support by liking this video and subscribing to the channel for more explorations of the ideas shaping our tomorrow. Hit the bell icon so you don't miss what's coming next. Together, we can keep wondering, building, and ensuring that our greatest achievements are never, ever forgotten. Now it's your turn to become a part of this story. We've spent this time exploring the incredible technology and the profound philosophy behind the archive, but its true power lies in the conversation it starts right here, right now. So we want to hear from you. Look around you at the art on your walls, the music in your playlists, the stories on your bookshelf. If you could choose just one single cultural artifact to represent humanity, to be preserved for eternity in that silent vault orbiting in the deep black, what would it be and why? Would it be a timeless piece of music that speaks to the universal human experience, like Beethoven's Ninth Symphony or the haunting melodies of a forgotten folk tradition? Perhaps it would be a groundbreaking scientific discovery, like the double helix structure of DNA or the first photograph of a black hole, a testament to our endless curiosity. Maybe it would be something deeply personal yet universally understood, like a child's drawing that captures pure imagination, or a recipe passed down through generations that tells a story of migration, family, and love. This isn't just a theoretical question, it's a chance to define what you believe is the very best of us, the essence of our creativity and spirit that is truly worth saving. Head down to the comments and share your choice. Let's have an amazing discussion down there about what truly defines humanity's greatest achievements. Your voice adds a crucial thread to this ongoing global conversation. If this journey into the future of preservation captivated your imagination, if you found yourself thinking about the legacy we're building together, then you're exactly the kind of curious mind we make these videos for. Consider showing your support for this channel by hitting that like button. It truly helps us continue creating content that explores the edges of what's possible. And if you want to join us for more deep dives into the technology that's shaping our tomorrow, from quantum computing to bioengineering and beyond, then please subscribe to the channel. Don't forget to tap that bell icon next to the subscribe button. It ensures you'll receive a notification the moment we release our next video, so you'll never miss out on exploring a new idea. By engaging with this content, you're not just passively watching, you're actively participating in a community that believes in a brighter, more thoughtful future. Together, by sharing, discussing, and supporting these ideas, we can help ensure that the most incredible story ever told, the story of us, is never, ever forgotten. Thank you for watching.